Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Christensen. This is Horror 101 with Dr. AC, and this is Scare-A-Thon 2023, benefiting the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project. We are in the final lap. There are only a few days left before Halloween, so now is the time to make a contribution. The link to donate is below in the description for this video. And tonight we are going to be talking about Finland's own Hatching from 2022, directed by Hanna Bergholm. And here to talk to me about this amazing Finnish film, my friends and fellow Wild Claw folk, Josh Zagoren and Mandy Walsh. Come on, everybody, unmute yourselves and let's get gabbing about Hatching from 2022.
Can you hear me? Am I coming in clear?
You sound great. Look, here's a banner. And there's another banner.
Wow.
Did it.
I know. We are in the big time now.
Wow.
I was trying to think of like other Finnish horror films, and the closest I could come up with was Rare Exports.
Right.
Which is wonderful, and actually was able to I'm like, oh yes, I know Isa is father, and I know Yo is yes. I'm like, okay, why do I know this? It's because we watch Rare Exports every Christmas.
Right.
But this is not Rare Exports, although it is another fantastic creature feature from Finland. So something in the water over there.
Did you ever see The Hole in the Ground?
I don't know that I've seen The Hole in
That's
the Ground.
that's a Finnish horror film to check out.
Well,
Okay.
That's for a different stream. It's also a horror movie, but just saying we're not talking about that one.
and I can't remember where the white reindeer came from. Anyway, it's really great. Anyway, but we're here to talk about Hatching from 2022, Hanna Bergholm. And also, I just wanted to give a shout out to IFC Midnight, because there was a time when IFC Midnight was awesome, and then there was a time when they weren't as awesome. And this year they are swinging back around, because we had The Innocents, which we talked about earlier. We had Watcher, and we have this film. So well done, IFC. Did you have some issues with one of those films?
Oh no, the Innocence still makes me chilly. Like, that movie really creeped me out.
Yep.
I don't know why.
Oh,
Well, because also Norwegian. It's
Oh
like-
well, it's icy.
Yep. Anyway, tonight we're talking about Hatching. Eventually, I swear to God, we will talk about Hatching.
Did you ever see?
When the credits were rolling, I mean, not only was I delighted by the fact that it was written and directed by a woman, but when I see things like creature effects by and special effects by, I'm kind of like, when it's in the opening credits, I'm like, excellent. That's what I came here for.
Yep.
And we get some awesome creature effects.
So good.
fun.
So good.
Yeah. So had either of you seen this film prior to the October challenge? Okay, you had, Josh. How did you hear about it? Did you see it on Shudder or what?
Last year I did. We were just talking about the list that I'm doing for this year, but last year I did a watch list, and it was 22 horror films of 2022, and this one came up on the looking for movies that are dropping this year. It was on, I think it was on Hulu. Is where I saw it.
Still on Hulu, yeah.
And it was, I just put it in there because, you see a bunch of movies that have really cool titles and then they're not from America. So you're like, all right, well, let's Google. Is it good? I don't know what this movie is. And that one was on a bunch of top 10 lists for 2022. So that's when I saw it.
Deservedly so, I would say.
Yeah. Oh, I preached that movie for 2022. It's like, no, you really want to see something creepy? Watch Hatching.
Well, this is one that I had heard about for quite a while, and I didn't know from what country it spawned, but I was like, okay, I'll eventually get around to it. And then, October was coming around. I'm like, okay, I will save it for October. It's in the list. And I was really delighted that you two reached out for it, because I'm like, hey, our Wild Claw buddies can all get together and chat about this one.
Good times.
Trying to do the WC,
Yeah.
but I'm
Mandy,
not doing it right.
Mandy, what was your impression of it?
Is it weird to say that I found it delightful?
Sure.
I really was
I mean,
delighted.
it's weird
by it.
and it's delightful, yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many creature movies out there, but this one, it was a creature I didn't have any familiarity with, so I don't know if it comes from folklore or not, but it was just like, what is that thing? And that's amazing. And look at what it's doing now. And yeah, it blew me away. And the girl who plays the lead,
Yes.
outstanding.
Yeah.
Yep.
Terrifying.
Outstanding.
Speaking of terrifying, her mother she's the monster.
Yeah.
Well,
It's- I love that this movie boils down to like the hormone monsters from Big Mouth, but like in a reverse kind of thing, because it's like the puberty bird is here and everything's gonna suck for a while. Hold on tight.
Absolutely. But yeah, the mom is crazy fascinating. Like, what? You're just gonna take your daughter to your lover's house?
She sucks so much.
But at least he was cool. He was.
He was the best one. I was. We'll just back up really quick. Just quick synopses of that. We got a family, and mom runs a blog called Lovely Everyday Life. It's a video blog, and it is all about presenting her perfect life. It's not lovely. It's not. I mean, it's lovely, but it's not every day, because she is striving for perfection, clearly looking to cover up some insecurities. But then she has her perfect family. She has her daughter Tinja, and she has her brother, or the son Matthias, and she's married to the character is only referred to as father. He doesn't even have a name. He's just Isa. But anyway, and Tinja is training for a gymnastics meet. That's kind of her big drama, and mom is driving her real hard to succeed in that, like, because it's a reflection on her. But then, I can't remember if it was before or after, but then also mom reveals to her daughter that she's having an affair, that she thinks she's in love. And you just watch her daughter's face just kind of like go, what's happening? And then like, let's just keep this between us girls. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're horrible. Like, you're going to have your daughter carry your secret for you.
And the daughter's like subtle acting, these moments of like, why are you telling me this? What does this mean? I mean, it's she's fantastic.
Yeah, she doesn't go to a place where it's just like this over dramatic like sorrow. It's like a legit kid place where it's just this confusing, like, why are we what? So sarcastic,
pretty
so
positive.
like,
I'm not supposed to be talking about this.
Yeah, she gets so offended by it. Like, ew, what? Instantly endearing. She's like, this is weird. I agree.
And I love the way the film opens, because they're doing like a family portrait, and this bird flies in and just causes so much havoc. I was like, how can you have this much havoc in the first like 30 seconds of this movie?
That's the hook. It gets you right at the beginning.
And I do want to say that the art direction is outstanding. Like the house, like the costume design on mom and daughter. I mean, it's just so like Martha Stewart precious. And to like watch this creature come out of it is like amazing.
Well, what the creature of which we've been speaking, that bird eventually is flying around, and it stuns itself, and Tinja grabs it with a blanket and hands it to mom, and then mom like you're like, oh, okay, mom's
jaw dropped when that happened. I was like, oh, I think I might love this movie. This movie might be amazing. And that's in the first like 10 minutes of this movie. Yeah.
Easily.
So then snaps a bird in half. So and it's just like
takes it, puts it in the garbage, and then Tinja takes it, or it disappears. And then she goes and finds it. Yeah, she finds it in the woods, finds an egg. And she brings the egg home, and the egg grows in size, and a creature is inside the egg. And that is from whence the title springs, the hatching. I will throw up spoilers eventually, but I think what I love about this movie, what really jazzed me about it is that metaphor rich. There's so much subtext going on here. There's so much that's being talked about the bonds between mother and daughter, about family dynamics, about the social media, like what is presented and what is hidden. That I remember, the mother saying something about, I'll crop you out, not to worry. And it's like, there is this whole like editing of what we see through our little screens now. And I just like, there's so much going on here. And at the same time, it is a straight ahead creature feature with, gore and weirdness and attacks and suspense and all sorts of body horror. I'm like, wow, I love this movie. And I love that that's what horror films can do, is they can be a straight ahead thing. And then you can dig deeper if you want to, but I don't feel like this one gets stuck in the message.
Right.
It delivers the horror goods as well.
And the message isn't even that, it's not subtle. Like, it's very much like a grim fairy tale, like the
Yeah.
actual grim fairy tales, where, you know, the descriptions are really easy to understand, and the message is kind of right there, which, I don't know, I feel like is a very, like, Finnish thing. And like a lot of like the movies we were talking about earlier, it's like they're parables. Like there's that Dutch film that we watched, Speak No Evil,
Oh, sure.
where it's like, yeah, that movie, first off, brutal as it is, the metaphor is very clear. It's about the cultural differences and things like that. And I'm like, thank you for hatching being like that Henson-esque fairy tale, but with a very understandable, very like prescient message, which I thought was cool.
Well, and I think like one of its strengths, I'm always a big fan of stories that if you extract the monster or the horror or whatever, you still have a solid story.
Yes.
And like the relationship between the mother and the daughter alone is enough to carry a movie. I mean, like, you know, the kid's trying to prepare for this gymnastics tournament, and mom is just on top of her the entire time. And like do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. And her hands are bleeding from like doing the parallel bars. It's just, yeah, it's a great little story if you even take the creature out.
That idea of the mom, it's about her daughter serving her, like her daughter's a prop in her own life. And that's really all her family is. I mean, her husband is a prop in her life. Her son is a carbon copy of her husband. I mean, I thought that was so funny. Like, I'm like, they cast these two actors that look exactly alike. I'm like, that is just brilliant.
And that kid's really good too. The child acting is phenomenal.
What I thought was fascinating in that you're talking about, like, where are these metaphors at? In this movie, it's like all what is not, like, it's all surface level. It's all beautiful. It's all, you know, very well lined.
Yep.
But then the daughter's got this barfing tooth bird living under her bed. And it's just like, yeah, that's what an awesome way to describe what we put on ourselves, like when we're growing up versus what's actually happening, that we're all just like going through these insane physical changes and like mental changes, and like the world is awful, but we pretend everything's cool. Like it hit really hard for me on that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw up the spoilers banner just because I'd like to talk a little bit more in depth. Everybody go see this movie. It's awesome. And if you have seen this movie, stay tuned, because here we are. We're going to talk about, because I love like her mother is not willing to sacrifice anything for her family. It's all very much about herself. Whereas we have Tinja like stuffing birdseed in her mouth and swallowing it and then throwing it up so that she can feed it to her child. And it's like you watch this young girl becoming a mother, and it's a child that's been foisted upon her. And hello, metaphor for fundraiser that we're doing right now. You know, it's like, I was like, there's so much going on here. And she is selfless about doing it.
Yeah. Well, and even like you could make the argument that she's learning to become a mother without having any sort of
guidance. Nothing to model.
Her mom sucks so bad.
And even if she were to go to her mother, what would her mother know about feeding, you know, a Skeksis from the fucking Dark Crystal?
Dark Crystal, yeah.
Right. That creature design like won me over from jump.
The eyes.
The eyes. It was the eyes. The eyes and the teeth. Just like what an understandable creature. Like, I feel like all too often, lately anyway, when we get creature features, the monster is something incomprehensible. Like either it's all CGI weird and it's sort of, you can't really get your head around it, or it's just a lumbering something that could just, it looks cool, but it's like you don't understand the mechanics of this thing. That bird character from Jump, I was like, oh, I know exactly what that thing is. I know how it moves. I know what it just, all of it was very relatable, and I'd never seen anything like that outside of like the Dark Henson stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Like terrifying, but also so you have such empathy for this creature that doesn't understand even what it is.
Right.
and how to please
heartbreaking
mom.
stuff. Like all the stuff that it would do and then look at you like, why are you mad? Why are you scared? And you're like, oh man, I love you, you weird little monster.
Right? And Bird's like, but this person sucks.
Yeah.
Do something about that, right?
And you're like, oh, precious. Ooh, you're gross. Oh, I love you.
And then the bird starts kind of becoming her id made flesh, where anytime, she feels some animosity. I thought it was really interesting though. Like she has issues with the neighbor's dog. She has issues with the neighbor because the neighbor's better at her than gymnastics, but she never directs her anger at her mother.
Right.
And I thought that was, I was like, wow, she never turns on her mom. She wants to please her mom. She like, that's what she wants. And I kept waiting for the bird to be like, nope, mom's got to go. But the bird only goes where Tinja sends it. And I was like, that's amazing. Like you can't
it's a very smart metaphor. Like it's a very relatable and realistic and grounded metaphor where it's like the movie never goes to a place that I think a lot of horror movies go, which is fine because that's kind of why we're on the ride anyway, where it goes beyond the rules you set up. Where it's like, no, clearly she's angry because of her mother. That's going to always be the case. So no matter what nightmare happens, it's always like, we're just going to dodge the problem, which I thought was super smart.
When did you, Mandy, I'll ask you first. When did you know that the creature was turning into a double of Tinja?
Oh, God. I feel it was after the beak
fell off.
Came off, and you just saw how, like, it was clear that, that's her. Like, oh God, where's this going to go? But I still didn't know where it was going to go. Well,
also that,
not knowing what this thing actually is. Is it a doppelganger? Like, what? It just was like, okay, well, they're going to look alike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Josh? How about you?
I thought it was mimicking her at first because that's kind of where my head was at. And then there were, I forget what the moment was, but there was something that the mother did that, the bird Tinja did that was like, oh, it is her. That's when the movie clicked for me, where I was like, oh, this movie is about growing up. And that's crazy. And it just made the movie so much more interesting. But she was already looking like her. So that much I thought was clear, but I didn't think it was her. I thought that the creature was trying to like make itself look like her.
Yeah. And especially like, the whole reason it seemed like the egg starts to like increase in size is because she's crying on top of it. And it's just like absorbing her tears. And their psychic link was really interesting and just different enough from like other things you've seen that have psychic links.
And I like the fact that like she almost goes into like a seizure when the bird creature is in charge, when it's running, when it's running. And I was like, oh man, like I said, I love all the little nuances. I don't know all the rules, but it's clear that there are rules in place. And I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought that having that back and forth between whenever the bird would go through some kind of moment, that mother-daughter connection that the daughter was going through, I just assumed that's where this was going, is that at the end she was going to raise this monster and it was going to kill the family and that was going to be the end of the movie. But then when it started to take on her look, I was like, oh, I get what this movie's doing. That's really smart.
Yeah. Well,
I like that.
And again, kind of going back to our comments about the actress, Siiri Solalinna, she plays both of those roles. Once she does convert into that bird creature, she plays the kind of shy, retiring, freaked out, version of Tinja. And then when she's the monster, she's astonishing.
Feral.
And like, I'm guessing like all that shoulder stuff she's doing. Like, I think that's really her doing it.
Yeah. I think she's doing the gymnastics too.
Exactly.
That shoulder thing was like a weird thing that like kids do where it's like, hey, you want to watch me pop my shoulder out? And when she was doing it, I was like, ah, God, stop it. Cut it out. It's going to stay that way.
So let's talk. Also, I want to talk really quick about this affair that like the mom is having. Not only is she having an affair and she's open about it, and it's clear that the dad knows as well. Like that just killed me. I was like,
oh, it was rough.
It's like, okay. Like he understands his place in this family. He is the prop. But then she goes over to Taro is his name. and leaves her daughter with him. She's like, "Oh, you're clearly stressed out. Why don't I just bring you over to my lover's house and I'll just drop you off and leave?" And I was like,
he makes me feel better. And you're like,
like,
the hell does that
absolutely,
mean?
yeah,
Right.
you are the
I mean,
worst.
at least he's cool and not predatory or gross at
No.
all.
I assumed that's where this was going to.
Right.
I'm
And
really happy it didn't go there.
but what freaks me out the most is his baby. He
Yes.
has a baby that
Yes.
isn't with the mom, but
Right.
she's adopted it, kind of. And it's like,
Well, right.
She
you
does
just
that in
watch-
front of our main character a
Yeah.
lot too, and it's really messed up. Well, because her mother's never really experienced like her natural wants, right? Because she's made her whole life, this is how it's supposed to look.
Yeah.
This is how I'm supposed to be. And then like her daughter, she's going through this like that can't sustain. So we have to make comfort with the ugly parts of life. And they're both kind of having that same journey together. And then that kind of comes to a head in the middle where I was like, "Oh, I get it. They're both of course she's going to be going through it like her mother goes through it, but she's recognizing it earlier, with may or may not be because of this monster she's got, which may or may not actually be happening, who knows. But like it doesn't matter because it's happening to her, which is happening to us." But yeah, I thought that was a lovely parallel that they were both going, because the mother can't just be evil.
right.
Like she can't just be like a one note thing in this.
Right. Well, and you find out, like, her thing was ice skating and she got super hurt and has a wicked scar. And like, oh, okay. So all her dreams were snatched away and and now we're going to stamp them onto the kid. And that's why life has to be perfect. And you're like,
Isn't it nice when the pieces just kind of fall together in a movie and you're just like, "Oh, thank you. Thank you for laying those breadcrumbs for me."
yeah.
Well, and when Tinja like deliberately breaks her wrist or hurts herself in the gymnastics, because that scene of the creature Tinja like pursuing that baby, I was like, with the the hatchet raising up, I was like, you're not going to go there, are you? But
And to lean into the spoilers banner, because I'm going to
let's.
Actually very few deaths.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, not much gore. There's, I mean, like you have some creature work.
There, it's like, whoa. But
I do have something to say about the gore though, because this movie, this is one of those things, like I don't really mind a lot of gore in horror. It's not my favorite thing, but whatever, it's going to be there. And very rarely does it make me ill. This is like my thing. This movie is my like don't go there area, where it's a lot of spitting and throwing up. I was like, no. So like the fact that I was just like holding on tight through this movie, like really bad turbulence on an airplane, is how good this movie was. Because I'm like, I'm gonna keep going, but damn it.
There should be like a warning, like if spitting and vomiting are not your drooling, not your
at
thing,
all.
Don't watch this. You're going to be very upset.
That was a hard ride. I was like, oh, she's just going to keep puking in that puppet, huh? Okay. Okay, fine. Damn it.
And the fact that she kind of co-opts the song, the lullaby that her mom sings, and to the point where she sings it to the bird and then kind of names the bird from the character in the song, the Ali. As I said earlier, there's just so much going on in this film that you can appreciate. And I don't think you have to write a thesis paper on it in order to appreciate it. I think you can just enjoy the straight ahead. The final moments where things go horribly wrong, but the Tinja that is left is going to be not taking any shit from mom. And you're like, okay, I don't, because I had myself going, and this was kind of like this was my question going, do we want mom to die? Like, as fans, are we like, do we want her to die? And what does that say about us? Like, that's the answer. Like, I want to have a catharsis of watching this terrible person actually physically die.
Yeah.
Or, like the fate that she is left with now is having done what she did by accident, and now is going to be faced with the repercussions for the rest of her life.
Right. Yeah. Like, you almost want a sequel, but I don't want a sequel. You know what I mean? Like, what happens with these two?
And that's the fairy tale part of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, because I was thinking about halfway in when Bird Monster was like, oh, it could eat a baby. It could eat a dog. Like, this thing is a monster. Okay, I get it. I kept thinking, all right, so that's going to be the thing. She's going to let this thing grow up. It's going to kill the family. And it didn't fit because the movie is not that black and white. And it's not that simple.
No.
There's so much there's so much vulnerability from the mother. Like every time she does something crazy, there's a moment of regret, or you see a moment of hurt or confusion. And it's not just like, she's my wicked mother. And this is the story about how I murdered her. Because I feel like if she did, it wouldn't have mattered as much.
Right.
Because I'm like, that's too easy. This movie's too complicated for that.
Yeah, I mean, she loves her family, but it's
Right.
twisted. It's just, she's twisted, you know, and it comes out in a very not great way. But she does love them. She does.
Yeah. She shows that she's capable of that because she doesn't immediately beat the crap out of this creepy thing that grew out of the egg that she was like. She doesn't like lose her mind on it because I assumed, because we're doing this like, oh, perfection is actually the worst thing you can do. You need to allow yourself to be ugly and that kind of stuff. I assumed that's where that was going. But the fact that she was like, oh, actually, you're kind of fascinating. I was like, oh, so she's not gonna murder her mother. It doesn't make sense unless that thing tells her to. And I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad that thing was cool, and I kind of want one.
I know what action figure to get you. I know what Funko.
Toothy puke bird, all in.
Oh my God, with real puking action.
It says three things. And
Noises, the sound design of the creature's screams was spot on.
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah, there's so much. I was telling Josh backstage, like, I'm so happy. There have been so many female directors that have been showcased over the course of the month. And that was completely by accident. I was just grabbing movies that I'd heard a lot of good buzz on, which means that female directors are getting their shot, and like people are seeing their movies and celebrating them. They're getting on people's top 10 lists. So it's like, I'm super psyched, and I can't wait to see what Hanna Bergholm has next for us.
For sure.
Thank you both so much. Again, this is Scare-A-Thon 2023, benefiting the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project. The link to donate is below in the description of this video, so please make a contribution today. If you've been enjoying the Scare-A-Thon all the way through, or if this is your first Scare-A-Thon video, now's the time. Much appreciated. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep sharing the scare.